When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Second Amendment, concealed carry, the latest gear, reciprocity, legislation, the right to self-protection. It shall not be infringed. This is Eye on the Target Radio with your hosts, Rob and Amanda.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Eye on the Target Radio on another beautiful Sunday. So,
Yeehaw.
So I have spent a little bit of time this week. It was really cool. I got to nerd out as much as I wanted to. I went to speak to a group of young conservatives in Ohio at their state convention, and I got to talk about the Supreme Court and the Second Amendment. When I got done, 3 different lawyers came and accused me, law students, came and accused me of being a lawyer. So, and I was like, oh, heck no. No, I'm not a lawyer. But I am kind of a Supreme Court nerd. There's no doubt about it. So it was fun. It was fabulous. And they are watching these Supreme Court cases just as much as you and I are watching them. So this week, the Chevron doctrine, Loper-Bright, came out from the Supreme Court. So
that's a super winner. It's not getting the press, I guess. The left is in shock over it.
So stop and tell folks what it was about, where it is.
The Chevron deference allows for a bureaucrat to fill in the blanks on how he wants a law to go. So they say since 1984, when this went into effect, that some of the laws have actually been written vaguely on purpose, just so that the head honcho of that particular
whichever party is playing,
right, in charge of that department, can tweak the laws to suit his agenda at this point. Mm-hmm. So they're saying that some of the laws are so vague that they really have no direction in them, so they're almost going to have to go back in and redo some of these laws, just because it's a law about nothing.
Right, it's like, this is the box that we're talking about. Make up your own mind.
But this is huge for the ATF. It's also huge
for the ATF in a negative way. Huge for all the people who interact with the ATF,
right, but
not necessarily for the ATF.
Whether it's the highway board and picking seat belts and speed limits, or whether it's the EPA and dealing with the rainwater on your roof, or whether you can put chlorine in your swimming pool or any of this stuff. Now all of this has to go to Congress. Congress has to hear it, they have to vote on it, and then they make it a law. Prior to this, from 1984 till now, it went to the expert at the EPA, and he said, well, this is how I see it, and this is what it's going to be.
This is what we're going to do, right?
And so all of these little agencies, whether it's about getting your tailpipe emissions checked, or whether you have to wear a seatbelt, or whether they have to print the how much salt's in a can of beans or whatever, now all that has to go to Congress instead of just being some guy who thinks he's an expert.
Because it wasn't just printing how much salt is in the can of beans, it was restricting how much salt could be in the can of beans.
Right, well, you're seeing this stuff lately where they were making it so you couldn't have a gas furnace, you couldn't have a gas stove, you couldn't, they're going to shut off electric car or gas cars for electric
all
cars.
Of that is now
all of that stuff now has to go to
officially.
Congress to be voted on, instead of somebody in a little office somewhere with his air conditioner blowing in his face.
So those of you who have gas ranges and did not have commercial gas ranges, and that we're seeing them threatened, that Loper-Bright is the gift that keeps on giving.
And some of this, I don't know if any of you guys have bought a hot water heater in the last decade or something.
How about a toilet with a 1.6 gallon tank that
Well-
says you could flush
Well, and also
3 times.
where the toilet doesn't hold any water, so it doesn't flush anything. But also, a hot water heater used to be $200. Now it's $1,000 for the same water heater, and it's nothing but government regulation that's driving that price. It's not that the water heater is better or made that
it's
last
gotten-
longer
yeah.
or anything.
Mhm.
It's and you're going to see this in all things: televisions, snow tires, whatever you buy.
So Loper Bright is going
They're saying
to
this
be
is the
big.
first step in getting rid of the swamp.
Well, I think that the interesting thing is that it will. I mean, a couple years ago, we got West Virginia versus the EPA, where West Virginia is like, "I've had enough of you," and so that Supreme Court decision was big, and then Loper Bright just played off of that, continued on, carried on, and just was like,
Well, if you look at the electric companies where they have torn down most of the coal-fired power plants,
mm-hmm,
and so the rest of the world's building more and more because coal is a cheap, efficient way to generate power. We have torn them all down, and now they're saying, well, it's not worth our time putting them back up. But we can't have a nuclear because nobody trusts that either. So now you just have to wait for your pinwheel to wind up enough to.
right. Okay, so one of our listeners says in California, gas-powered lawn equipment is supposed to be outlawed. So exactly.
Right,
So
they were
Loper
taking
Bright,
all whatever you want, through the blowers and weed trimmers, everything like this was all going to go to electric because those little motors puff out the fumes.
that's it. So they are, they are emitters, emitter. But Congress didn't write any laws since California wrote their clean air emissions stuff. So it really will be interesting. So when California wrote the clean air stuff, was that legislators or was that the California EPA? I think that was legislators. So that stuff kind of stands because legislators did it, states' rights and all of that. But it's when you start to get on the federal government side and they start to say, we're not doing this or we're not doing that.
Right, or they just say, well, California already passed this, so we'll just adopt this. Well, that's not how it works. And so you're going to end up finding out that we don't need no stake of badges.
I don't know. Yeah, so there may be all of that. I do not know, but I think Loper Bright is going to be extremely friendly to us, and we'll see a lot more of it as time goes by.
And when you look at it too, we're all waiting for Rahimi to come through. I was kind of shocked that they've seen it the way that they saw it, but
right.
they didn't apply Bruin to Rahimi, and so I think that you're going to see that this is going to stand for a little bit, but it's going to change. I believe that we're going to see they're going to come at it from a different direction.
I think they're going to have to come at it from a different direction.
One of the articles that
is this the
you
one?
have, let me
This
see.
is Rahimi, and then there's Clarence Thomas.
There's one where they said,
which one?
where
The Department of Justice asked for.
No, there's one where they said that they understood that the person was already adjudicated in a court of being guilty. So they were doing away with. It wasn't that it was he said she said. It was
so, and I think that's an interesting point. I mean, so in Rahimi, one of the things that they had said in there, and we're waiting to see how it gets peeled back. And that peel back is the fact that they say that domestic violence gets adjudicated and addressed. So if it gets adjudicated and addressed, it's not an accusation that holds forever. And so up to now, it it's been a forever kind of situation. So we're waiting to kind of see how that interpretation falls out, where it really is with it. And
I don't see it right now, but anyhow, that was the big thing, was that they said that they seen that it was that a court had already seen the. Was that in that paper over there?
or maybe, I don't know. Yeah. So we'll find it when we come back after break, because he's scouring through every different article, and let me tell you, there's a lot of different people writing about the Supreme Court decision. So Rahimi is one of them, and Loper Bright is the other. But when we come back, he'll have found it.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Have you ever lost that perfect grip after shooting multiple rounds, or had your sweaty grip diminish the ability to hang on to your firearm in different weather conditions? The Locked-In Grip is a grip enhancer that keeps your hands free of moisture to create a slip-free connection to the action of shooting your firearm. Locked-In Grip Liquid Shooting Sports Chalk is made for shooters by shooters. Visit LockedInGrip.com. That is LockedInGrip.com to purchase your Liquid Shooting Sports Chalk now.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, so as promised, as promised, he came back with here's his section of the information.
Okay, well, the thing is that the Supreme Court justices, they went, instead of using Bruin, they went under Section 922G8 of the Code of Laws.
Right.
Anyhow, and they, as 922G8 applies, only once a court has found that the defendant represents a credible threat to the physical safety of another. So it's the kind of thing is it's after they've been to court, and so they get the what do they call that?
Some due process.
Due process of, so somebody besides just her said that you were
right, and I think that's the piece, is looking at it to make sure that there's some due process. I think the rest of it nobody has a hard time with. The other peel back that's going to happen is that nonviolent felons. That is another piece that Amy Coney Barrett has talked about.
The other part that was in there is that actually the Justice Department has actually asked them for further information as to who going forward could be disarmed, because it's not exactly clear if it was just the character of this guy's content, or the content of this guy's character.
This guy had no character.
So
he was a character, he had no character. That's how that was.
Right. They said application of this test to a particularly odious defendant rather.
We've told you that Rahimi was not a great guy, and so it's really hard when you go to you work up through the court system with a person that is the defendant that nobody likes. The right doesn't like him, the left doesn't like him, the lawyers who defend him don't like him, you know.
Because the DOJ has already asked the courts to provide more clarity as to who can be disarmed going forward. So
I think that's a thing. So if the courts can tell us who can be disarmed, when they can be disarmed, and then apply due process to that,
and then,
I think that no one will have a problem.
And Clarence Thomas's
dissent,
he said that he argued that the court's majority failed to adhere to the same Bruin standards that many signed just 2 years prior. But I don't think that they weren't looking at it as a gun thing.
As a gun case for Bruin itself, they were looking at it as
and the court works in a really bizarre way of doing things. So it's like when it's presented a certain way. I mean, it's like when Mom gave it to you as a hamburger, it was going to be a hamburger. You had to eat it with the bun and onions, and that you couldn't take it off the bun and put gravy on it and call it a Salisbury steak or something. It was.
It's got to be one. This is it, right? I think that the Supreme Court can actually look at it as all the potentials.
Well, that was the thing that Scalia had, is he could look at it in so many different ways, and he could see where, not today, but in 10 years' time, that there was going to be an issue with space travel due to the fact that what he had to say today. And it's not a lot of people have that. I don't know what they call it, troubleshooting skills, or
it's vision. It really is legal vision. So one of our listeners says that they're waiting diligently, patiently, impatiently to see what happens with the so-called assault weapons, or modern sporting rifles.
Well, the thing is with the dissent on the what was the case the other day?
The bump stock.
The bump stock case. Sotomayor wrote in there that the AR-15 was in common use, and by doing that...
Well, I think she actually just wrote that it was commonly available, and so we're like, well, they wouldn't make it commonly available if people weren't commonly buying it.
Right, so Heller has already set the precedent on this, and I've seen that with the Firearms Policy Coalition and a couple others have already started filing lawsuits that using her words in her dissent.
Oh, you bet. They're like, wham, we are on it, right? They nailed that landing, whatever that was.
So I mean, there's a lot to this, and everybody's watching it from every different direction, and it's there's so many things, and each part, like I say, it may be a law about emissions for your automobile, but in the long run, it's going to touch how your kitchen stove works, what's in a can of beans, how air travel's going to be affected, and other things.
Well, I spent some time yesterday with the Ohio Senate candidate from the Republican Party, and they were in their speech. We're talking about the impact of what's happening with this Loper Bright case, the Chevron, and how winning, you're going to get tired of winning. That's kind of where he went with it. And it was like, oh yes, we see this. And so one of our listeners is saying that we should find out this week if SCOTUS is going to take up any of the assault weapon bans or magazine cases. I'm not sure that they tell us a lot now before they go to break.
I think that on the
we get a clue on some of the stuff, but the rest of it we don't get to know until October or November, and then they're like, oh, yep, now we're going to take it.
But I don't think they're going to pick up a case. I think they're going to allow Bruin to do its job on the lower courts.
Well, it may be that if they get the case, then they because there's a lot of stuff that they'll in October and November they'll look at it and say Bruin has already handled this, send it back. And so just by that
right,
loop,
so and that could very well be. But like I say, I think that they're not going to do it. They're going to just push it back down to.
Well, I think they said plenty, and that plenty we're waiting for the overall interpretations of that plenty. I mean, we've got a pretty darn good idea of where that ought to be, but then right. You and I aren't.
But it's so funny
that
when you're listening to it. I mean, we've talked to plenty of Second Amendment lawyers who don't see the Bruin we see.
Well,
but then we're seeing when the courts are making decisions. I mean, it's Biden appointed lawyers, it's Bill Clinton appointed lawyers, and they're seeing the same Bruin we're seeing.
They're seeing it like we're seeing it. So there's that. Well, let me tell you, I rolled out my Hunter Biden theory on the 4473 forum to one of the Ohio state representatives, and he was all over that. He thought that was yes, exactly. And what do I want him to write? So we'll see. We'll be right back.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolcool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the backseat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Have you ever lost that perfect grip after shooting multiple rounds or had your sweaty grip diminish the ability to hang on to your firearm in different weather conditions? The locked-in grip is a grip enhancer that keeps your hands free of moisture to create a slip-free connection to the action of shooting your firearm. Locked-in Grip Liquid Shooting Sports Chalk is made for shooters by shooters. Visit LockedInGrip.com. That is LockedInGrip.com to purchase your Liquid Shooting Sports Chalk now.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Okay, so we're back, and there's a whole lot of cases that are headed to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court looks at them, and they get the requests that they get to look at are hundreds, and the cases that they look at are in the tens.
Well,
right?
you usually see 10 to 15 that are good enough that people talk about them. There's also probably another 5 or 6 that are cases that lawyers talk about, but regular people don't understand anything about it.
Don't understand at all, right? Right. So so it's kind of interesting in that, but in a lot of cases, they'll look at this and they'll make a stack of them. They'll set them aside, decide whether they're going to do something, especially if they're taking a case that is kind of comparable to this.
The funny part, Monday they're going to come out with the stuff of whether Trump has immunity as president. To do something without being sued for it. And so the other day I was listening to the radio, and one of the liberal callers called in, and they said that it shouldn't take but about 3 days for them to come to a grips with this and come up with
something. And they're like, yeah, they should just be able to hear it, decide, and go forward.
And go, and it's like, how do you give a guy enough power to be effective in a world power setting,
right? But
yet hold him back enough that he doesn't have free reign to just kill anyone he wants to for entertainment purposes.
Well,
so there's a spot where just trying to write that out would take you more than 3 days.
Well, and I give the Supreme Court justices credit for the deep thought. I mean, the thing is it's almost like a brainstorming session to, did you think about this? Did you think about that? Did you think about that? Now research these things.
When they have a really hardcore Republican versus a hardcore Democrat, both of them get a chance to explain their position, and sometimes they can find some common ground in the middle. The constitutionalist comes in and throws a monkey wrench in the whole thing.
Because they're like, we're not agenda-based, we're constitution-based. Well, it's sort of like, it's really kind of odd when sometimes, let's look at the First Amendment case that the NRA brought forth about Vulo. And they had used the power of the state of New York to make all the businesses not do business with the NRA, and so the Supreme Court voted, and I think it was the ACLU.
Yeah, the ACLU joined the NRA
ACLU said we'll provide the lawyers. And so having the ACLU provide the lawyers for the NRA, talk about strange bedfellows.
Right. I mean, these guys usually are not on the same team.
They're not on the same team. They don't even like to be on the same street.
But the thing is you have to give the ACLU credit for the fact that they are fair and balanced in their opinion.
They look at it and say, this has way bigger meaning.
Right.
And because
so
of this,
even though the people who were defending make us have to spit when we say their name.
We don't like them. We don't like them a lot.
We have to stick up for their purpose, and because in the long run, it's going to help our purpose at the same time.
Right. They have a right to exist, and you all can't say that they don't, because otherwise, when the other team gets in power, they will say that we don't have a right to exist.
Well, this is what they have a problem with, like with Trump's thing on Monday. If they give Trump free reign to do whatever he wants, then Biden has that same free reign to do whatever he wants.
Right.
And so and then two, is this going to be, can you go back and sue Bill Clinton for whatever he might have done? Can you go back and sue some of the other presidents or even the estate of the presidents that were in the past for doing? So there's a spot in here that's hard to draw a line, as the saying, where is good and bad on this. What's somebody else saying?
So somebody's saying that, continue on and then we'll read this.
Well, okay, because it's in such small writing I couldn't read it.
I know. I'll have to get closer. I'll flag our video guy.
It's the kind of thing it's like having a mean dog. I mean, you want him to bite somebody, but you don't want him to just bite everybody.
Well, you actually, I'm not. You want him to have the ability to bite somebody.
Right, and you're hoping that he understands who needs bitten and who doesn't.
Exactly.
But there's a spot where you have to kind of trust him a little bit
for him not to bite you. Right. There's all that. Okay. So one of our listeners said that. So apart from the Supreme Court of the United States, our focus also needs to be focused in Illinois at the state on Judge Stephen McCoglin and Attorney Thomas Magg. Magg is handling both the assault weapons-based case and the Floyd Act case. September 16th is.
I thought they'd already said that the Floyd card was not.
I think it went. It moved its way up to the next level. You know how that is. It's like we won, we get to go to court again. We won. We get to go to court again. So I think it's progressing nicely, but it's slow, and the wheels of justice grind funny.
Yeah, it's almost. I live in somewhat the free America still. I mean, it's not completely free, and you don't kid yourself. But there's a spot where we probably should just put up a big fence around Illinois, and. You only have to have a good reason to want to get in. You don't have to. We don't really need that good of a reason, but the average person can leave without any kind of issues and leave Chicago and them to themselves. And
well, the problem with that, the real problem with that is, I mean, we've had these conversations with New Jersey folks, and if you tell them just move, then we just give up all that real estate.
But if everybody that has a brain and wants to think for themselves moves out, there's really nothing left for them to have. So it's the kind of thing is they want nothing. They own a swamp that's full of critters that will turn on them.
But the federal government still supports it. So if you're not in there fighting to at least stop something, all of the tax dollars will go to
I think that if you gave them stuff to eat and bullets, they would fix themselves. I mean,
I don't think it works that way, but okay.
I'm sure that it does. I mean, if you ever watch Snake Plissken with his Escape from New York, that kind of is how it worked, and it seemed to work out good for Snake. I don't know.
There you go. I don't think so, but okay. So so before we get off of the topic of the Supreme Court and all of that, Wisconsin, because of the Rahimi decision, has now decided that they are jumping in and trying to do some additional legislation because they want to expand the definitions for domestic violence, and they're expanding it in a case to be anybody who has dated, who has gone out together, who's whatever. And so what happens is you have to, if somebody has the ability to deny you your rights for the rest of your life, they've got to have some skin in the game. I mean, there is that.
This is a lot like when you look at these things where somebody, let's say a psychological evaluation, and who do you want saying, yeah, he's good, or no, he's not?
Well, there is that.
I mean, when you just look at this last presidential thing, I mean, there's one team says he's perfectly fine. The other team says, I don't think so.
I don't think so. Right? You're sort of looking at it, but, you know, in both cases, that team says, I think the other guy has got a problem, right? So regardless of which team you're on, you're like, yeah, it's the other guy's team.
And that's why no one should be picking what's going on for you, because you can't trust nobody.
There's a little bit of all of that, and yes, but it's kind of, you're right. It's kind of interesting as to who gets to decide things. And I mean, when we talk about criminal reform and then we talk about mental health and you get into all that, you know, they disbanded all the mental health facilities because there was abuse. But we didn't manage the abuse. We just disbanded them. Be free, everybody. And okay, now they're free and they're living on the street eating toads. You know, that's probably not normal, right? Just saying that, you know, the pile of headless toads is not normal. And I don't want somebody deciding for me that I need to be in a mental health institution because they don't like my politics. But at the other hand, if I'm over in the corner eating toads, well, only half of the toad, then I probably do need some help.
Right, but so, I mean, depending on who you ask, I mean, it may be that ketchup on a sandwich would be enough to put you over the edge. And,
well, I don't know, but I'm just saying, the toad, no head, is kind of a line. That's the line for me. We'll be right back.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolcool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Have you ever lost that perfect grip after shooting multiple rounds or had your sweaty grip diminish the ability to hang on to your firearm in different weather conditions? The locked-in grip is a grip enhancer that keeps your hands free of moisture to create a slip-free connection to the action of shooting your firearm. Locked-in grip liquid shooting sports chalk is made for shooters by shooters. Visit lockedingrip.com. That is lockedingrip.com to purchase your liquid shooting sports chalk now.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3 and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Writing Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the backseat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Writing Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Okay, so we are back. Did you see the Surgeon General has declared, and he's gone to Congress, and he's declared that we need to treat gun violence, as a public health crisis. Did you see that?
I seen it, but I was like, who does that guy think he is?
He's the Surgeon General, but
Which
I mean,
means
I
nothing to me.
haven't paid any attention to who the Surgeon General is since C. Everett Koop.
So,
But
so
I think that was a while ago. But so he wants us to treat gun violence like it's a public health crisis. There's a difference between it being a public health issue and a public safety issue, right? And so he goes to Congress and he's talking about that, and then this comes right over the news directly after that, and that is that in Nashville, a Hyundai Elantra was stolen, and it was used to do a smash and grab into a gun shop to steal $10,000 worth of guns, and it was driven, well, it and two other cars, because they had a backup smash for smash and grab, and then it had a third car for the escape vehicle. So, and there were 4 suspects that were identified. They were 14 and 15 years old. They were all undocumented Hispanics. They were, so illegal, let's just say illegal aliens from Honduras and El Salvador. They are from a gang called Los Diablos. So when you look at it, the Surgeon General is saying we need new laws. We're asking for new laws. We're not asking for...
There was already about 20 laws they broke right there before
Well, okay, so I started to take all this and I started to circle it. So the first one was the first car stolen. Then the second car stolen. Then the third car stolen. So there's
and then there are illegal aliens that came in the country without documentation.
Undocumented thing. They are 14 and 15-year-old teens that now have guns.
And a stolen, and they're driving a car without a license.
So they're driving a car without a license.
But they don't have insurance either.
And they're driving a car without a license, driving a car without insurance, 3 stolen cars, $10,000 worth of smash and grab, which is stolen into the so when you look at it, there were like 7 or 8 unique laws that were currently broken. I mean, not counting all the, when they say I've got 14 different charges against you in this. I mean, it's just steal a car. That would be
the $10,000 thing that if they put each gun as a separate thing, that'll give them another 32.
But which is counted as one, right? It's still 7 or 8.
Just act like it's one Barrett they took and
just one really nice one, right? But we need more laws because those 8 laws were not deterrents. How about a trebuchet and you jettison
back towards Honduras, but probably not all the way.
Learn to swim. I just look at this and I'm like, why in the world are we going to punish every law-abiding American citizen because someone has broken into our country, not respected our laws, not respected our ways?
We need volunteers to go to Mars. There sounds like there's 3 or 4 of them.
Okay.
Nice, young, strong, ready to go. Also, too, there's so many times that we could use like donations for gizzards and hearts and lungs and stuff.
Yeah.
So they could also do that type of work.
Right.
And so it's since there's so many things there that it's not like you're going to rehabilitate them from being the devil. I just look at this, but okay, so criminals are going to criminal, but I am having much more heartburn about the fact that the Surgeon General doesn't even see that criminals are going to criminal, and we have to have more laws. And so, there's another story in here that was funny because the English are freaking out because the crime is so big in Washington, D.C. that it makes their anti-gun laws and that look bad. And so they're having trouble. It's weaponizing the...
Okay. So, So the United Kingdom's newspaper fears that the crime reporting feeds in D.C. are
fueling the right-wing agenda about self-defense and that, and it makes the UK's self-defense laws look bad. And
well, the UK's self-defense laws are bad. So, I mean, if you have to turn in your steak knife, save a life, turn in a knife, right? That says that your chances of self-defense are not. I gave my speech yesterday, and I started it with self-defense is a human right. This is it, and we're going to pick this up. I admit I took it from Gun Owners Action League out of Massachusetts. It's a fabulous line because it has so much meaning. And when I got done with my speech, one of the state reps walked up and he was like, self-defense is a human right. I was like, you were listening? And he was like, that resonated. And so it really is. So when you see that the United Kingdom says that you don't have the right to defend yourself, when you see that DC says you don't have the right to defend yourself.
Yeah, the other funny part is like our laws, they're looking for this history, text, and tradition to go, and they go clear back into some of the UK stuff of 1300s, and about the self-defense things in
but we quit caring about the UK
Right,
in
and like 1789
76.
or something. So,
right?
but the funny part is they go clear back to there to show that they were trying to disarm the UK in like 1348 or something.
Right. Well, that's because they were hunting. They were starving to death, and they were hunting in the king's forest. So they were disarming them because they were eating the king's deer because they needed to eat something. Yes. But they should not be allowed to use those. They were not allowed to use those. They were grasping. But those are not an explanation that has anything to do with 1791 history, text, and tradition. Yeah.
Right, so it's funny in the fact that they are scrambling for anything they can do to try to justify their line of thought on this, and some of them don't think.
Oh, there's a lot of that, and so one of our listeners is saying that the left has been trying to deal with guns under public health and the Consumer Product Commission for a while.
Some of that stuff. I mean, you think about it. When they change the category, now when it goes to public health, it's no longer covered by Bruin under the Second Amendment because it's in public health. And when they look at some of the other things that go on with the stuff, by them changing these categories, all of a sudden it loses its protections under certain ways.
Like PLCAA and the like there, so Protection of Lawful Commerce and Arms Act.
Right. So it's so whether they're looking at it as a public health crisis or a public defend or like a self-defense thing or whatever, it's some of what we were talking about the Supreme Court where they didn't hear it under the Second Amendment, they heard it under the Fourth Amendment or something, and they've come to a different conclusion at that point.
Then we would have then lawyers Rob and Amanda, or law students of the law, I guess, is different than law students. As you study.
See, our problem is we apply common sense to some of this, and don't.
Common sense is not so common in some places. So
and in some cases, they've actually blotted out the common sense part because it needs to be more on feeling than.
It conflicts with the feelings that I have and the emotional response that I may give. So, well, folks, that wraps hour one. We will be back right after the news.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
6 says that Feinstein claimed that she was an expert on guns because she'd seen thousands of pictures of them. And then he went on to say that may make him a gynecologist because pictures, We'll just move on from that.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
You hit the radio bullseye. And the home for everything Second Amendment, concealed carry, the latest gear, reciprocity, legislation, the right to self-protection, and it shall not be infringed. This is Eye on the Target Radio with your hosts, Rob and Amanda.
Okay, so we are back, and I always love having a story where a good guy with a gun perseveres, and things go well. So in Michigan, a Michigan family narrowly escaped a horrible fate. So there was a 24-year-old man who confessed afterwards, after he was held by gunpoint, that his goal was to break into this house in Michigan and kill the entire family. So that was his goal. There is no words that say exactly why he picked that family, but he was fully aware of his actions and had planned the attack. He goes into the house, goes into the kitchen, arms himself with a knife that he found in the kitchen, stripped his clothes off down to his underwear and his t-shirt, and then he started to hunt through the house to find the family. And he woke an 11-year-old girl who started screaming. He was not successful in stabbing her. She screamed. Her father grabbed a gun and held this miscreant at gunpoint until the police arrived.
Look at the self-control that guy had.
That was my first thought, too.
One boom, everybody goes back to bed and deal with it in the morning.
No, it doesn't quite work that way, but
in my neighborhood it does. But
one boom. I mean, here is a guy in his underwear in the bedroom with your 11-year-old daughter with a knife.
Right. So I mean, he's already taken all of his ID and everything off. So you just take him down to the overpass and throw him on the next train out of town and let them deal with him in South Carolina or something.
Let's just say, I personally think you're fully justified that he is a threat to you and your family.
Right, but you're gonna be up all night answering questions, deal with the cops and that.
See, this is that line where I am a law-abiding and you are
a $12 carpet from the local Ollie's will give you something to carry this guy down to the train station and send him on his way.
I don't think it works that way. I just don't. I mean, there's a spot where when you move evidence and they figure it out, Lucy, you got lots of explaining to do.
Have you watched any of these cop shows where if they don't know that you know this guy, they're not going to catch you in most cases? And it isn't like he told his friends, I'm going down to the 8114 Mayfair and doing a crime tonight. They don't know where he's at either till he doesn't show up a couple days later, and they'll think, well, who knows what happened? Maybe he moved out of town or he's in rehab.
I guess he did move out of town. So, no, this father held him at gunpoint.
I just have to say kudos on the restraint, but I don't see that would happen in a normal life. I mean,
I don't know. Listeners, anybody got an opinion on that? Because I think that's one of those. I am not nearly as flexible in my mind as you are in where laws are.
That's why they make number 9 shots so that you don't overpenetrate.
Okay, so someone said that they too would have eliminated the threat, and yes, there's a little bit of that. I'm just saying, yes, a little bit of all of that, but no, I kudos to the dad. I mean, so you're ever so grateful that the dad didn't just go running into the kid's room with what's going on, right?
So now he fired up the whatever you want to call it, the justice system. This guy's going to sit there and spend money spinning his wheels for the next 10 years. They'll let him out next week. He'll find somebody else with a sharper set of steak knives or something. That sleeps more soundly. This guy had it under control. All he had to do is boom, and
there you go.
We would have moved on to the next case.
You could have pushed the booster button and been done with it. I see your point, but okay, there you go. Okay. So, let's go. Since we're talking about lawmakers, let's go to North Carolina. North Carolina, the lawmakers have they've adjourned for their summer break because now they're out politicking, and they had on the docket to be the 30th state for constitutional carry. They have a supermajority on the Republican side, and they have decided that they're looking at it that they are. So Grassroots North Carolina, Mr. Paul Vallone says that he believes that the GOP's inaction is because they're simply afraid of what the voters are going to say and negative media, because the media, we know what the media is going to say.
Well, that's what's funny too. We see a lot of this where there's like right now 2 Republican parties. You're seeing the Trump guys and the wishy-washy middle of the road Republicans that call themselves the old guard, when in reality they're just rhinos, I believe they call them.
They're not. Well, Republicans in name only
and not in actions. They need to grow some hair and
on their head. On their head. That's what he said.
Somewhere, and stick up for what their values are. I mean, for you to sell out your values for a vote is a
wimpy.
Yeah, I was gonna say candy.
You're wimpy. We'll just start right there. The same place.
But I mean,
using the same word about where their hair is going to be as to where the candy's going to be. But okay. Just saying.
We have some hairy candy.
There.
But I mean, it's the kind of thing is you were sent there by voters to do a job.
I'm with you.
And then when you get there, all of a sudden
you're like, I'm so afraid of the other voters.
And some of it falls squarely on the voters because you go to town and then they just ignore you. They think you know what you're doing, which you said you knew what you were doing, and you were going to do the right thing. Once you got there, now only the squeaky wheel gets the grease, so the anti-crowd is the ones that you're hearing from, not the pro side, because they already think you got under control.
Yep.
And so you forfeit your common sense.
Because you're like, everybody wants this. I think this, but they all want that, so I'm just going to go there.
You get the same 15 people calling you 25 times a day so that you get, it looks like a consensus, but in reality,
I think you've got a point there. When we were to D.C., we were told by one of the legislators, well, I'm on your side. Go talk to the antis. And it's like, no. You have to understand that, one, we need a refreshing voice to hear that you're on our side. You need a refreshing voice to say, go team go, we're behind you. And then we can go talk to the other people too. But our chances of persuading them, we need to keep you solid and then start to persuade them. Because if we don't pay attention to you and you kind of slip under the water.
Well, and that's kind of funny when you watch the goings on in DC right now, and you see Green and Getz sticking their neck out and doing
rattling cages.
And then you see other people are like, well, they're just over the top. Well, no, they're doing what they should be doing, and you should be following them, waving the flag and kicking somebody in the candy.
In the candy, right there, right in the hairy candy. Got it. But no, I mean, I think, and if nothing else, there are some people who are the leaders, who are the, they're the laser pointers, and you're the cats, right? They were like, this is where we ought to be going, and you're like, I'm not sure I'm ready to go all that way, but I could go 3 quarters.
When I was a kid, they used to call them mealy mouth, but
it's gone now. Yeah, that's I wonder what the mealy was in mealy mouth.
It's just when they just
They didn't quite mean
open their mouth and chowder comes out.
Chowder, just pure chowder comes out. That's that was. We have a friend who's from the East Coast, and when he gets really mad, that's like his insult. He opens his mouth and chowder comes out, and that for us in the Midwest is the funniest insult we've ever heard. Right? It just really was. I think you kicked my cord or something. I don't know. So yeah, it's just so it's pretty funny sometimes in the insult world and where you are, but at least you're not you're not swearing, so I'll take it. So folks, we'll be back right after these commercials.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Seffacool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Have you ever lost that perfect grip after shooting multiple rounds or had your sweaty grip diminish the ability to hang on to your firearm in different weather conditions? The locked-in grip is a grip enhancer that keeps your hands free of moisture to create a slip-free connection to the action of shooting your firearm. Locked-in grip liquid shooting sports chalk is made for shooters by shooters. Visit lockedingrip.com. That is lockedingrip.com to purchase your liquid shooting sports chalk now.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, so did you see where preemption in Ohio has been, I guess, supported, ratified,
Well, the
reinforced?
thing is Cleveland is slow to catch on. They've sued a couple different times saying that it takes away home rule from them.
Okay, so
And
let's
so,
first talk about what preemption is, because it's a term that we are familiar with, but a lot of people aren't.
okay, well, I believe it was about 2005 or
Seven.
something. 2007, Ohio passed this preemption bill, and it was about Second Amendment stuff. And before that, we had a patchwork of different cities that had different rules. I know, like Toledo had a set
Point
of
system.
a point system. So if your gun had a certain length barrel, it got this many points. If it held this many shots, got that many points. And then once it got to a certain amount of points, it was no longer allowed to be in this city. When concealed carry was coming through Ohio, they needed to make it so that a guy's gun from Columbus was legal in Cleveland, so they put this preemption in. So only state laws are applicable in Ohio, and so little city laws have no meaning to anyone else. So you can travel around inside the state without problem. And they put teeth in this law so that if you tried to go up against it, not only did you have to pay for your lawyer, but you paid for
The costs and reasonable attorney fees of anyone who prevails in the challenge.
right. So Cleveland, like I say, has gone up against them a couple different times. I believe the one time was $240,000 they lost. The other time was about $500,000. They still don't believe that it's right, but Cincinnati had gone up against them. Columbus has been pushing lately, and they just got the okay from one of the judges saying that they could sue the state. So we'll see how that goes for them. But here's a story.
Right, but then Cincinnati came back. So what happened is Cleveland is now Columbus is now trying to sue, but because the First District Court of Appeals has now said this is where it all stands. There was in 2007 they passed it. 2010 Cleveland sued. There was a 2018 and a 2022 amendment. They kept trying to go after it, and so the First District Court of Appeals has said it does not violate Ohio's Constitution, and the entire preemption law stands the way it is. And so I believe Columbus is done now. I believe they're out.
Well,
also.
the thing is that it would be better if it was done before they get started because of the fact that they have to pay so much money. But then again, it's not their money, so they don't care.
Mm-hmm.
They just take it out of city taxes.
Right. You just need to pay some more taxes because their little coffers are empty.
But anyhow, so preemption is good in Ohio. Other states I've seen where they had preemption and they let it go away. I mean, talk about a stupid move.
Unwise.
And right, so there's some other I see that Colorado has some stuff like this, and they're working on city laws and different things, and our preemption is so good to us. We definitely need to keep it going. Pat somebody on the head and
keep it solid. And so we need to send a thank you to the First District Court of Appeals and say thanks for standing up for it. Thanks for standing up for us. Thanks for
right. Well, we were talking about Colorado here. They have a lawsuit where the one city is starting July 1st. They passed a law that's going to make it so that you can't take a gun into a city building. And so one of the lawmakers wants to make it so if you have a concealed carry permit, then you can go into the city buildings. And they're saying that the CCW holders are the most law-abiding citizens that they have because they're willing to get the training, go through the background checks, all this stuff. So if you can't trust them, you can't trust nobody. And so I think it's July 22nd he goes before the thing. But we'll see how that goes for him. But it's common sense doesn't necessarily hold a lot of water when you're talking about city ordinances and
just
stuff
say
like
common
this.
sense is not so common. We talked I think it was last week, about Milwaukee trying to passed legislation that said that RNC is going to be in town, so we need special RNC rules while they're here, and that we're fully prepared to be sued after the fact. But some of the legislators were like, "Yeah, no, that is not a good idea."
I think what they really need is that 5-cent cigar and 50-cent beer night. You can call it good.
Okay, right. Well, because the solution is if they do 50-cent beer night, people aren't going to be carrying because they're drinking 50-cent beer. So they could solve the problem way cheaper than being sued just by discounting their beer.
Right.
And it is Milwaukee.
Right. The microbrews could keep them.
Oh man,
safe.
It would be if the legislator said for this week we are going to supplement the beer bill.
It'll probably be cheaper for them in the long run than anything else that they could propose.
I think you're brilliant. I think that is an absolute brilliant theory on how to if this dude really wants to not have firearms at the RNC. I mean, because really they're only going to be there in some segments anyhow, because the Secret Service, as soon as Trump is there, as soon as Trump is there,
everybody has to scramble to try to find a locker or something to put their gun in anyways. So.
I want to see what the backpacks on the bus look like, right? Because there's going to be something there. But because you can't have a gun around the president. But for the rest of it, beer would be good. That would work amazingly well. So what do you got this short? Because I got a little window of time here.
There's a little bit of Rahimi stuff that I wanted to touch on, and the fact that they were going after Rahimi on this Section 922 G8 of the I don't know, the revised code of the USC, whatever, and then they said that the court has two rejoinders of surety and affray laws. So these are what they're using, and so they're worried that down the road that these surety and affray laws are going to undermine the Bruin and make it easier for the anti-gun crowd to attack the Second Amendment crowd.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. We'll see. We'll keep your fingers crossed. We'll see what happens. But
was that short enough?
Bruin for the win. Yes, you will. We'll be back right after this.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a Rangemaster certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Have you ever lost that perfect grip after shooting multiple rounds or had your sweaty grip diminish the ability to hang on to your firearm in different weather conditions? The locked-in grip is a grip enhancer that keeps your hands free of moisture to create a slip-free connection to the action of shooting your firearm. Locked-in grip liquid shooting sports chalk is made for shooters by shooters. Visit lockedingrip.com. That is lockedingrip.com to purchase your liquid shooting sports chalk now.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolcool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Okay, so Georgetown University, which is not necessarily a bastion of freedom and conservatism, it just isn't. But they have an assistant professor at Georgetown's University in the School of Business who has been working on a national firearms survey. And the survey, so the interesting part about a nonpartisan survey is how do you ask the questions? You know, that thing about, have you stopped beating your wife today, right? And if you say yes, then obviously you beat her yesterday. If you say no, then that means you're still beating her today, right? There is no answer that you can give that's that. So when they do these national firearms surveys, it's like, how do they write the questions? And are they written in a way to where you're actually getting real data? So this dude wrote this stuff, and it looked reasonable. The NRA has defended his position. The New York Times has taken exception to his position, and they have, because one of the responses that he summarized his survey. He got 54,000 American adults that use their guns defensively to start to get some data. And so he used his survey quantity to extrapolate that 1.67 million times a year guns are used in a defensive circumstance. And of that 1.67 million times a year, most of them the gun was never fired. So 81.9% of the time, almost 82% of the time, no shots were fired. So nobody was hurt, no shots were fired. Well, the New York Times and other organizations took exception to that. And so they worked on marginalizing it, shunning it, canceling it, chasing it from polite society. The attorneys general of Illinois and Washington State started to issue subpoenas for his documents and communications so that they could confirm where it came from, whether it was valid, all of those kinds of things, as if that was where they had to be. He spent months defending where he was and what was going on, because when the attorney general calls you for a deposition, you kind of pay attention to that. Oh, by the way, he needed a lawyer and some of the rest. Then the media started to contact him, and the interesting part is the media had a list of talking points that almost exactly paralleled Illinois and Washington's deposition questions. So somebody was leaking and sharing those to ask the media to ask him. So they were spending their time just trying to tear this professor up, right? And so the NRA has come to his defense. The professor is like, I'm not standing down. He says, I published it. I'm going to stand with it. And I'm going to continue to go. So good on him, Professor William English. And the data, the 1.67 million times annually that a gun is used for self-defense, kind of matches the numbers that we've seen in prior surveys, the Pew Research Center and crime
you think
research.
about when you just among your friends and that, you say, well, I got my gun, but I didn't have to do anything with it. I mean, there's so many more times that just the presence of the gun was there,
right,
made everything kind of stand down. And
in some cases, you got your gun and the other person never saw it, because you got your gun and evasive maneuvers, and you and your gun were then gone, but you were prepared to defend, right? So, there were times when it's there for my peace of mind, for my protection.
Well, and some of it too is that if you say you're in an altercation where right now two people are shooting their mouth off, you know your gun's in the house or whatever. Are you a different person than you would be if your gun was in your pocket? Are you more assured of yourself at the time because the gun's in your pocket, instead of now I have to beat him up and then go get my gun, or I have to try to signal for the wife to get the gun and she doesn't play charades with the darn?
Right. Well, there's the whole, and then it's just back up,
like,
go to the house.
What
do you want? What are you talking about? I don't understand you. Right. I think I know those gestures well. Anybody who's been married for any length of time knows those gestures well.
Right, but I mean, the thing is, sometimes it's just. I mean, I know people that didn't even have a gun, but they postured like they had a gun, and that was enough to make the other multiple people decide they didn't want to play that game. And so, even just by quickly thinking, I mean, it was funny because the guy's even left-handed, and he actually put his right hand in his pocket like a normal person would be.
Right, because
people are expecting you to be
it's
right-handed.
more of a threat to look like your right-handed defense.
Right, and so he was just using the most common way to portray that he was ready to fight it out, and they decided they didn't want to play that game.
Right,
They find somebody else.
I remember the news reporter who got a hold of his notebook. He had one of those little slender notebooks, and so he says he did a really quick motion of his hand to his pocket, and that like I'm prepared, right? Knife hand, the other hand kind of thing, and that was enough to make the person that he was concerned about switch to the other side of the street.
Right, I mean,
and then he's like, okay, I'm just scurrying on.
They were looking for an easier target than one that's prepared and ready to fight back.
Exactly. There is there's a lot to that, an absolute lot to that. So I think this reinforces some of the other stuff. So crimeresearch.org, Dr. John Lott's crime prevention research has a lot of data to this. The Pew Research Center has a lot of data to this. The between 1 and 2 million times a year where a gun is used in self-defense is pretty much an accepted number. I had never seen the 82% where no shots were fired before, and I find that very
bullets are expensive.
Well, I find it very true to form, and I find it very refreshing. Yeah. So, so some of our listeners are like, I do everything that I can to avoid a conflict. I'm more polite when I carry a gun. And I.
All right, you can never guarantee that guy isn't going to have an exceptional day and drill you right through the head first shot.
Well, so there is that, and I just tend to be more aware, more polite, and just get out of Dodge. Oh,
right,
sorry.
if you can leave, it's a lot cheaper than if you have to spend the night in jail and wait for your lawyer to come.
There's that, and there's no accounting for a lucky shot, and so why push your luck
right.
when you are trained and prepared, and the first part of training is run away.
When you're trained and prepared, sometimes you expand your horizons a little bit, and you see things out a little farther than normal. So where the average clueless person just walks along like a zombie and they're in the middle of it before they know what's happening.
Exactly.
Someone else sees it's happening or sees the potential for it to happen here and goes a different direction.
Down a little further, shifts around.
Right,
I don't need to go to the next
switches under the light or something like this. So yeah, there's a lot to that, and I always, when concealed carry came to Cleveland or Ohio, a lot of people are like, how come you never hear where a guy with a concealed carry was shot at 2 o'clock in the morning? I said, because most people who are carrying a gun like that are smart enough to know that good things don't happen at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right? Didn't your dad say bad things happen after midnight? Right? Get home. So yeah, so there's a lot to that, and so, and you don't, I look at concealed carry holders as the card carrying good guys. They've done all the stuff that they need to do to be able to.
Well, you can hope that they did everything that they could do. Some people they buy a Ferrari and they still put the cheap 87 octane gas in it. They buy a $1,000 gun and they put cheap bullets in it.
Worse than that is the guy who's like, I have a good gun, but I don't want the police to get it, so I'm going to carry this gun that may or may not go off. And I'm like, what is your life worth? And yeah,
right, they're so worried about this gun. It's like, well, when you're dead, it'll have a good resale value, but it didn't do you any good.
It didn't do you any good.
I also know people who, I know people that are still carrying black Talon bullets. I mean, they haven't made those since 1993. So it's time to shoot those up and move
on, because I'm pretty sure they're not going to.
When you start looking at a bullet that's going on 30 years old, 35 years old, there's a possibility that it may lay down on the job and not do what it was supposed to be doing.
That concept is still around. Use it, but it's not black. We'll be back right after this.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolcool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Have you ever lost that perfect grip after shooting multiple rounds or had your sweaty grip diminish the ability to hang on to your firearm in different weather conditions? The locked-in grip is a grip enhancer that keeps your hands free of moisture to create a slip-free connection to the action of shooting your firearm. Locked-in grip liquid shooting sports chalk is made for shooters by shooters. Visit lockedingrip.com. That is lockedingrip.com to purchase your liquid shooting sports chalk now.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Okay, so the Second Amendment Institute, which is Tyler Izaguirre and his folks out of Washington D.C., they've been working diligently on building their organization. And so I've watched over the years as different people have joined that group, including Alan West. So Tyler Izaguirre, Alan West, Cheryl Todd out of Arizona, Yehuda Reamer, the Pew Pew Jew out of Texas, to name a few. Well, they've now stepped into. I mean, I'm so proud of them. They've stepped into a whole nother level. They filed a lawsuit, Izaguirre et al. Versus the District of Columbia, was filed on June 25th of 2024, and it seeks to enjoin the district from enforcing a total and complete prohibition on a substantial set of semi-automatic firearms, common and popularly called the AR-15. So given the fact that Sotomayor's dissent in Garland versus Cargill acknowledged it, Mr. Izaguirre piled on. So he purchased a gun as a Delaware resident to keep in his home for self-defense, and then he was denied his registration application, citing the district's ban. And so, and under the district's law, a person cannot possess a firearm unless it's registered. So he bought the gun. He could legally buy it. He tried to move it to D.C. And they're like, yeah, no, you can't have that here. And so he's like, bazinga! So this is going to be amazing.
Well, it's things we said earlier about the fact that the dissent in this Cargill versus Department of Justice was going to go great guns. I guess it would be the
right. Yeah. So Garland versus Cargill, and then Sotomayor's dissent. So it's gonna be great. But it's great fun watching this. You know, it's kind of like the little engine that could. This little organization kind of get started, and you watched
So did you see that Gun Owners of America is having a meeting in August in Knoxville?
Raleigh, maybe somewhere down that way.
I thought it was in like Knoxville, Tennessee, or something. But look it up, folks. You'll see that it's always been NRA have this and the
SAF has got that, but GOA, this is the first time for them.
Yep, this is the first one, so it should be pretty big. So pay attention.
They are expecting 50,000 people.
Well, I'm hoping to be one of them.
So so it is the end of August is when that is, and so it's an interesting play. It's another group that is stepping into another, expanding.
Well, times they are changing, and it's not such a dirty word to own a gun anymore, to be a gun owner. So it's getting more mainstream as we go along.
And each organization is going, wait, I can step out of my comfort zone and step into something else. I can look at expansion. I can decide what that expansion really means to me and to the other folks who are members of that
I need them
organization.
to work on that super user number because
they need to up their game a little bit. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it makes me feel bad for myself because of the fact that I fit in this category that a lot of people don't. So they need to
continue to get people to step up.
I don't know. Maybe a government subsidy would help everybody.
One gun a month, and they give you some assistance toward that. Government assistance for one gun a month.
Right.
Self-defense. It's kind of like insurance. Self-defense is a human right, so let me help you. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
Even
funny.
if they only bought you one gun and then training with that one gun, I would be all about that.
One of my friends sent me a thing. Somebody recommended a book called Hatcher's Notebook, and Julian Hatcher was a World War. He joined the army prior to World War One, and he was an armorer some of the stuff that he wrote about in his book. I mean, they would have trouble with a gun during World War One, and he had to figure out why it was doing it. So they would blow up guns or something. So he would shove everything under the sun down the barrel of his gun to try to. Think about a guy that was in the muddy fields of France. What's he got that he could shove in his gun? And he would try that until he finally could duplicate the blow up. And it was funny because he tried 7-8 bullets, mud, every cleaning rod, everything, and it turned out to be if he took the government issue shoelace and tied like 6 knots in it, and he pulled it down the barrel about halfway, then he could duplicate the explosion. But anything else, it just pushed it out the barrel and kept on shooting.
But why?
So you think about how many times did he have to try something? How many different?
Oh yeah, one knot didn't do it. Okay, let's try 2.
Right, and how many other things did he shove down the barrel and try it to see if it blew up or whatever? And then there was a spot where when they got to Europe, they thought that the 30-06 was good to 4,500 yards, and they found out that it wasn't. So he had to. Sent him to Florida on the beach, and he took bed sheets and he put them. I think he said 32 feet high and 4,500 yards long, every 50 foot. And then he stood back and shot at this target that would have been at the 4,500
and then
yard
you could
mark.
see where it.
So he watched the arc of the bullet and that through these bed sheets, and then could see what was actually happening and why it did it and why.
So when we talk about the $700 hammer for the government, you're like, I need a 32-foot bed sheet, and I need a lot of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Delivered to Florida Beach.
To the beach in Florida, because I'm working for the government.
But
right?
there's so many other things that he did and all this stuff, and then sometimes he would find out what the problem was, and then he would have to go to the root cause of what that problem was, whether it was the heat treating of the gun or something like this. And so sometimes he would be at the manufacturer checking how they did certain things and looking at all of their documentation as to what they. Because early on, they would, like the 0383 rifles, they heat treated them and then they wrapped them in leather and then they baked them and the leather nitrided the steel.
Okay. I didn't know that.
So this book is well worth reading. I mean, it's one of, when you start reading it, you can't stop just because this guy had such an interesting life and all the stuff that he...
So, I'm not sure that. Okay, but I hear you, but I'm not sure that this is my leisure reading. I don't think that it's a page turner for me. I don't want to judge you.
It was a very good book, in my opinion. It didn't have a lot of players. I understood the
There's
players.
One guy and the beach
right.
and a gun.
Right, or a heat treat oven, or this certain box of bullets that he got from Arsenal in 1937 or 1919 or whatever.
That's truly funny, though. So, do you still have the book, or?
Yeah, I have a copy, but I mean, everybody should have a copy. But
I was just wondering if you got it signed, right?
Oh no, I just have a book that was.
I just didn't know. When you're probably his one fan.
Well, it's
right?
funny. Rich Macniak, a friend from Michigan, who's since passed away, he had Julian Hatcher's 1911 pistol, and I think he sold it for like $35,000 or something like that. But it was kind of cool that here he had this general's gun that, with all the documentation and everything.
All the provenance that went with it. That is pretty cool. So it's called Hatcher's Notebook.
Yep.
Can they find it on Amazon? Do you know?
I'm sure they should be able to, and it's been in print for years and years, so there's probably used copies and everything else too. But
okay.
it's
Hatcher's Notebook. So if you want a little light reading, folks, Bob says it's a page turner. I'm not.
Well, if you're into blowing things up and understanding why they blew up and that, I mean, it's like it's super exciting.
It's a page turner. Okay, folks, we'll see you next week.